All right, we should be live now. What's up, internet? What's up, the world? We are back with our perspectives. It's your boy Holden Stephan Roy here with Littyyy Bro Flacko as we bring back our show where we discuss the week, or I guess in this case, the last 2 weeks worth of noteworthy news events and give our opinions on the topics. Normally, our Perspectives interview show has us going through the lives of our guests, of which you can check out those interviews on the channel. We just filmed a few more, so we got another new one coming for you June 1st. And yeah, this is the show where you get to know us a little better, and we just talk about what we think about whatever topics we came up with over the week. It's also a group experience, so if you're watching this, make sure to jump in the chat and let us know what topics you want to see us cover next time, and what topics, if you're live with us on Twitch at least, you can or Facebook, you can tell us what topics you care about this week. Ask us questions directly, and we want this to be an interactive group experience. Yeah, so on that note, just fixing my camera there.
I'm joining Twitch. I would say we should talk about that a little bit more because
everything's about to change.
That's why we right. Like, let's not glaze over the fact that we weren't on air last week.
We were not on air for good reasons.
We didn't even give them a heads up we weren't going to be on air.
Nah, we thought we would pull it off, and then it didn't happen. But we tried, and it just didn't work out like that. But I went to New York last week, so last Friday at 12 o'clock, we were in person. We had linked up at that point in the day. We were in the Bronx. It's just that it wasn't viable to actually run the stream and figure out the show at a logistical level, of which, we'll figure it out in the future how we can make this happen in person. But it all runs through the computer. So when you're actually facing these challenges in real life and you're like, oh, wow, this is not my comfortable setup. This is not what we're used to. But I was in New York City last week. I went down 2 Sundays ago, and then spent the week, came back on Friday. And yeah, we just kind of filmed a bunch of interviews, got a bunch of content done. Like, there's still a lot of footage I have to go through before we start banging out that promo content, but we did all that good due diligence of building up our stuff. Like, we finally filmed a real deal Patreon video, so for all y'all who want to check that out, patreon.com/perspectives. And like, we put some work into that side of life, because living in different cities, it's a little hard to literally film content together. And
I gotta put you on hold again. Don't lie to the people. Let's be honest. So what happened, ladies and gentlemen, is that we're a pair of fuck ups. Okay, the two of us. Okay, we met up physically in person multiple times, and never, not once, did we record one fucking promo video where we were like, "Hey, hit the YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment, thanks," or "Hey, we got a Patreon."
we got like one. We got one specific for the YouTube in front of Grace Papaya.
No, you're not.
I'm not hearing it.
Put down your defenses. Put down your defenses. Listening to me with defensive ears, okay? I said we are fuck ups who met up several times in real life before this weekend.
Facts.
And never, not once, did we record a promo video in all those times meeting up. So we are fuck ups.
That's a fact. We are fuck ups.
You gotta take accountability for yourself. You know what I mean? You gotta take accountability. We have a show. We fucked up. It's on us.
That's a fact.
The same way that you got, when, like, the energy you bring when somebody else is wrong, you got to bring that energy when you're wrong, and like, hold yourself accountable and be like, "Hey, man in the mirror,
that's a fact. We fucked up. We did not.
Fingertail wag.
We did not film no promo correctly the first 3 trips that existed in New York. Went down. Yeah. We barely took pictures, honestly. Let alone like this, like barely anything. We're just on the go, and it's like, huh.
To be clear, to be fair, right? That's partially my fault. Um, I'm definitely I'm definitely a live in the moment kind of guy. And when you live in the moment,
And yeah, when you're on in New York City, cruising around, living in a faster pace where you're just doing shit, it's like we needed an extra person to come down who was like, nah, you guys should probably have pictures taken of you right now, which was very helpful. And we started learning more about roles,
like,
having people dedicated. I was even thinking, like, if you wanted to really save money, you need to bring down a person whose job it is to go deal with cooking. Because, like, well, because I was thinking about how like the fast food all week shit is not really the most sustainable like health experience. So if I'm gonna be really traveling a lot more, I have to figure out
nah, but
healthier.
that's also on you, buddy. You know what I mean? Well, listen, because I saw you posting about you ate a lot of pizza and that probably
I did
wasn't
eat a
good.
lot. No, I mean I did eat a lot of pizza. That was on me. But I
Yeah,
don't know, like
but that's also a circumstantial. Like you ate a lot of pizza because you had a new person with you in New York City for the first time. So where I'm
right,
going to take them to is to make sure that they taste actual pizza. So the same experience you got the
right,
first
right.
time, you're gonna have to sit in the passenger seat and somebody else has that same experience.
But
And
then
so
when
that's
you
what
and then when you
with
weren't around, it was like, okay, where do
and
we
then when I
get
wasn't
food?
around, you guys fucking went and ate Papa John's shitty ass pizza,
That
which is
was on
like,
me. That was
well, that's
totally on
on
me.
you.
That was all
That's
on
on
me. That
you.
was a big mistake.
That's a big mistake. That's a big,
I
big
needed to learn.
mistake.
It was one of those
Like
things where,
I saw that. I was like, what? Why would you do that? What?
because sometimes you see these chains that you've seen on TV like your whole life, and you never ate that shit. You just have to know. You just have to, in your soul, know. And do I like it? No, but now I know. I'm telling you, like it's not like I can just go to Papa John's. It's like in vain with all that other like American shit. It was like last time I had to get that fucking spicy chicken sandwich because I can't get the spicy chicken sandwich from Popeyes in Quebec. It's just not here. So it doesn't even matter. I mean, that shit was fire. But like, it doesn't even matter if it's good or not sometimes. It's just like, I have to know. And there's like Arby's is another chain that I have to try because there's no fucking Arby's up here.
I don't know why you feel the need that you have to try these things. It's crazy to me. This is right for anybody who's watching this who has a developed palate for food, right? You hear this man talking about trying all this garbage, and yet he won't try fish.
Yeah.
Salmon, the steak of the sea. And this man is not having it, but he will have fucking Arby's and fucking Papa John's shitty ass fucking pizza.
It was
This
pretty shitty. I'm not going to have Papa John's shitty
let
ass
me
pizza
tell
again.
let me finish too to the people. I'm still talking to you people, okay? Listen to this shit. Then he came into town with another motherfucker with no motherfucking palate. Matter of fact, that motherfucker might have had a worse palate than Holden. Because he didn't even want to eat a bunch of times. So it was just like, you should be eating right now, sir. Cocaine cannot feed your body for everything. He's not a cocaine addict. He didn't
He's
do
really
cocaine
not.
at
He is
all. I'm
really
just
not.
saying when you don't eat, guess what? In our community, that's what like immediately. He's a thin man who doesn't eat. Yo, he's either got the monster or he's on drugs. That's the rumors in the hood. That's how it is when you're in the hood and you're too skinny and you don't like to eat a lot. The rumors are you either got the monster or you're on fucking drugs.
What's the monster? What's the
What's the
monster?
monster? The
Yeah.
monster is HIV. The monster
Oh,
the monster is like a fatal disease that like causes you to be skinny because why
right.
else would you be skinny? When you grow up in our when you grow up in our communities and in our culture, you eat heavily. And I've dealt with this my whole life, right? But I also haven't dealt with this my whole life, right? Because I eat like a lot and I eat well. So like that supplements all the like people like who are like, oh, he's skinny. He's got to have the monster be on drugs. And it's like, I am on drugs, but I eat like a motherfucker. So can't be on drugs. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those like cancels itself out things. Um, but the point being, both these motherfuckers had no palate. I bought this motherfucker Prince Street Pizza, and he put the pizza in the back seat. That was like, wow, Jesus Christ, holy shit. But if you are going to subscribe to our Patreon and the highest package that's available to come to New York City for a guided tour, um, you will not put the pizza in the back seat because you're gonna be like, "Hey, I paid for this. I paid for a good time. I'm gonna have a fucking good time." And you're actually
And
probably watching
you,
this, and you're probably like, "Yo, I eat fish. I feel bad for Flacco. I feel bad for Flacco."
and I'm sitting here going,
People
even if
that
you
don't
don't
eat
eat
any
fish.
seafood. That don't eat any seafood. I could have took them to eat fucking seafood boils, and nope, they didn't. They definitely didn't get to enjoy the oysters at PJ Clark's with me when I was eating oysters because why? Don't eat seafood, so didn't get to enjoy that. You know what I mean? Like so, all the things that these fools are missing out on. Feel free to come get some of this loving. It's here for you. Patreon. Hit the link in bio. Hit the Patreon link. Go to the bottom. The highest package available.
Let's go. And just to be clear, if you do have a childish palate, we still want you.
I prefer you to go to Montreal, to be perfectly honest with
Fair enough. There's plenty of
you. Take your
childish
ass to
palates. It's,
Montreal. So, to hang
it's a
out with
good
your
time
fellow,
in Montreal. New York City is a good
with a
time.
fellow childish palate. If you have a developed palate and you like to eat all sorts of great foods from all over the world in the greatest city that provides all the greatest food, right? Because this is the selling point. This is the selling point about New York City is that New York City is the city that people across the world think of when they think of coming to the United States of America for freedom. So you got all these amazing people from all over the world that come from all these countries and all these different cultures and ethnicities. And they come to New York City, and guess what? 9 times out of 10, those people are the best that those places have to offer. And they show up here and they're like, yo, you know what this city's missing? My food from my home. Let me introduce these people to my food from my home. And they start making their food from their home here in New York City. And here in New York City, where we have developed palates, we're like, hey, we want to taste your fucking food from where you live. And then we taste it and we're like,
There's
oh,
lots
we
of
tell all our
Montrealers with
friends.
developed palates.
We tell all our friends, and then we start buying your shit at your restaurant, and your restaurant becomes wildly successful. Next thing you know, you're on fucking TikTok. Well, really, that's not really true. Because only thing that people are fucking asking me about food from New York City from TikTok is goddamn fucking Aki Way, which is a goddamn bodega. Like the world is just underdeveloping itself by the day. So
Bro,
I'm probably just
you just
talking to
have to.
myself, and everybody hates me and is like,
Nah,
"What? I want to go to New
nah,
York
you're
City,
like,
have a
it's
job."
kind of like that pickle shit. Honestly, this is one of them divisive points, right? When it comes to food, where there is a whole team of people watching this right now that agree entirely with you, like without a doubt in their mind. And then there's a whole bunch of people that are like, fuck that shit. Fuck the fish. I'm going to Montreal. Like, there's just a whole bunch of people watching it on the other side because I'm like, some of that childish palate shit is fire.
No, I mean, I'm not. Listen, I'm never gonna.
Sup, Lindo?
I'm never going to poo-poo chicken nuggies, right? Like chicken nuggies are great. Who doesn't love chicken nuggies? You know what I mean? But I'm also not eating chicken nuggies for fucking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like,
That's fair.
or eating chicken nuggies 2 days in a row.
Actually,
Like
the
that.
McDonald's ones from the States are fire. Like,
Listen, the truth
they're way
is,
better than Canada. Okay, like, there's
I'm
a
a fucking
difference.
I'm a fucking snob when it comes to everything that I do. So I'm a fucking food snob and I don't eat leftovers. So like I don't fucking cook and then eat the same thing the next day. That I make sure that we cook, my wife cooks the meal for the day and that's it. There's no leftovers
Right.
because I'm not eating leftovers the next day. I don't do that. I'm not I'm not eating no leftovers. I'm eating at the restaurant the meal that gets served to me and then I'm leaving. and then that's it. You know what I mean? Unless I wandered in there high as fuck. I only ate like a little small portion of my meal, and it's like I left the majority of the meal. Then it's like, all right, package this shit up. Let me take it home. Let me see if maybe I'll eat it in the morning. But like, no.
I've
That's the
definitely
worst.
had those high as fuck moments. I got real
Right.
hustled at a Chinese food restaurant.
But so yeah, listen, you know what? Let's tell the people about the weekend that we had, the week
Yeah,
that we had last week, right? Like, let's not even keep like I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm just gonna surprise you with it, right, Holden? We're gonna tell the people right now what it is that we did because it's like, what are we keeping secrets for?
we
What do
don't
we?
need to
What
keep
do,
secrets.
we don't need to keep secrets. Definitely don't need to keep secrets from the people who are tuned in and really fuck with us heavy, right?
Facts
So
never.
Holden came into town and we hit the ground. Well, Friday, Sunday he comes into town. We allocate parking. I show them Central Park. I show HSR's friend Buds, right? We show Buds Central Park, and then we go to Gray's Papaya, all while the Tesla's charging, and then where'd we go from there? Oh, we went
Uh,
to PJ Clark's
we went to PJ
Lincoln
Clark.
Center to have dinner. I took the boys out to have dinner, right? I wanted to like set off the week with like an official nice dinner that I took them to and whatnot. Um, which like there would be so much more of that. Like if it wasn't his first trip and if you guys had more to do on the fucking pallets. But I'm not fucking wasting my money on you guys fucking having goddamn fucking wings on my account. Fucking you either order the fucking fly shit or don't order at all is my thing. Anyway though, we took them I took them
I did
to
not.
Central
I didn't
Park,
get wings.
Central Park, the Bethesda Fountain, Gray's Papaya, Lincoln Center, the Clarks.
And
That
what we actually filmed promo content too, like
you
day
film
one.
promo content.
Like we
Oh,
actually
hold on.
did actually hit the ground running on that
You
capacity.
see my
Like,
camera moving? You see my shit
yeah, I
moving?
do. It's a little
Pretty
like
fun.
it's nice. It's
Pretty,
this is the new
all right.
iPad.
This is the new iPad
Lit.
that we shot, that we used for the first time last Monday when we shot Dinko D's interview,
Facts.
and
Dinko D's
then
from leader of the new schools.
Dinko D, leaders of the new school, and then we interviewed General Steele from
Facts.
Smith and Wesson, aka the Cocoa Brothers. Um, on the first day, we used this bad boy right here, this iPad of mine, the 13. I forgot what the fuck it is. But it's the newest shit because that's what I do. I'm the newest kind of guy. I was ready to when I was. Let me tell you something. When I was up in there, I was ready to upgrade. They are lucky that I was just like, yo, you know what? It's too much trouble to go through, and it's too much to do on last minute. But like, I was ready to like up, and that was the other thing was like I was ready to upgrade to the 14, but then I was like, no, what for? The 15 is right around the corner. Let me just hold off and wait for the 15 to come out so I could get the 15. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at this point, I didn't. I waited too long to get the 14, so it's just like might as well just keep on riding it out. Get the. But I was ready to get the phone. I was ready to upgrade my watch to the most expensive one that they got now. But all I ended up doing was upgrading the iPad. But upgraded the iPad to the newest shit. We interviewed General Steele. We interviewed Dinko D. Um, we interviewed Aguilar Adolf. We interviewed we interviewed Shalene Rodriguez, who is you know, please look up the name because she's going through some things that are viral on
I learned a
online.
lot about right wing Twitter in the last week of my life in a way that I've never seen in my life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've been dealing with that. Let me tell you something. When you say shit like that, it'd be crazy to me, and I don't think you understand. But I'm like, listen, I've been dealing with this shit for years. You know, that's the thing was battle rap was a blessing. You know what I mean? The blessing of getting online and being popularized to a lot of people early on gives you a crash course, and it's almost as if though I matured as the internet matured. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like and I grew as a person. I went from like responding to every comment to like now, like I see comments and I'm just like whatever. But like every once in a blue moon, I'll still get spicy on a comment.
I
Um,
mean, they
I
apparently went pretty hard on her though. Like this was like I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, they're going hard. They're going hard in the paint. So we interviewed Shalene Rodriguez, um, who is a fantastic artist and community organizer,
She's
community
just
leader.
super interesting interview. Like
Really
just
interesting
super
person.
interesting. Like education, like Alamax. Like sometimes you just talk to people and it's like their knowledge level is at this like PhD level of shit, and you're like, oh, say word, I don't really know things compared to you, and that's
Yeah,
what it felt like talking to her. Like I don't even
yeah,
know things. I thought I knew things until I talked to you.
yeah. And so, pretty much, we recorded a lot of content. We went to Times
Oh,
Square.
that
We
part, yeah.
filmed ourselves um, just talking to random strangers on the street, right, and asking them general questions, which is like we hit them with the perspectives classic of who are you and where are you from, right, and then we followed up with relationship questions of sex on a first date, yes or no. Um, your partner wants to go on vacation without you, yes or no. Um, uh, we were doing tall or short,
But that
taller
was
than you, shorter than you, your
wasn't that
significant other.
amazing of a
But and then I
question?
replaced it with you're in a relationship with a person. It's a monogamous relationship. They want to turn it from a monogamous relationship to a polyamorous relationship. Yes or no? And Holden was telling me he liked that question recently.
Yeah, it's a good
And
one because it's
and
all
then
based on the reactions, right?
Holden would close it out with the gem that we got of like, tell us a secret that you've never told anyone, and you'd be surprised to find out how many people were willing to give up secrets.
Like people were
Um,
just like, I mean, I think some of these people were literally just adopted characters for the video,
yes, yes,
but the first people we talked to were from fucking Montreal. Like, go figure that the first ones that we get on camera, it was just great. They were legitimate with their secrets.
right. You will be seeing all of this content on our Instagram and TikTok pages. So please, and they're separate. Like they're going to be different videos and edited differently for TikTok versus Instagram. So please feel free to visit our Instagram page and visit our TikTok page and follow us on both those so you can see us doing uh
The questions. Also, I know you may be wondering, but you
what
guys
was
don't
it
live
what
in
was,
the same
what was it
city.
that we decided was going to be the name?
People's perspectives.
People's perspectives. Right.
And yeah, you may be wondering, okay, but you guys don't live in the same place. How is Holden going to Times Square again? You're right. I'm probably not going to Times Square again pretty soon. But we're just going to do this Montreal versus New York then, where we're going to have our team up here run it at different spots in Montreal. Flacco will have his team in New York City running it there, and we'll be able to compare and contrast and almost, see the same question set, how it goes with different people in the different locations, and give you even broader perspectives.
Right. That was a good time, man. And then last but not least, when you guys were out here, I took Holden and Bud's shopping at our first shopping
Facts.
of the week, which is Century 21 reopened. Feel free to click that link, Holden. I'll talk until it goes live. The point is, I took the boys to a classic department store in New York City. They probably did not. They thought I was gassing it, probably like the way you guys think I'm gassing it right now, until you walk in there and Holden can
Century
tell.
21, maybe you've heard of it. It's reopening its flagship store tomorrow in Lower Manhattan. The store, known for its jam-packed racks and great sales for committed deal hunters, we're told the store will have 4 floors instead of its original 6. Mayor Adams expected to cut a ceremonial ribbon. Century 21 closed all its locations back in 2020 when it filed for bankruptcy. And
Yeah, yo. So like it's just an amazing store. You know what, Holden? Why don't you tell them about your experience in there?
So you walk in and it's like a department store. Only everything costs more. That's your first thought, and it's like it's just the brands are just like, oh, that's like actually Versace. Like that's
Yes.
actually these things. Like
Actually
there's no
Versace,
like
actually
there's no
Moschino,
like
actually
question because
Off-White.
like you know how like Supreme now has like there's Supreme and then there's I can go to the warehouse and get Supreme put on a label in the Supreme and like there's no question about that. At like in Canada we have Winners. I know there's other versions of that up in the States that y'all have, but like so you walk in and it's like one of them department stores, but again everything's just fancy at a level of like and like of like brands. But the thing is that like there's a lot of affordable shit in there, and like a lot of
Also,
shit's marked down because that's basically what it is. It's all like marked down shit. So you're like looking and it's like $250 marked down to $139, and you're like, huh, that's actually a pretty good deal. And I mean, it is possibly last year's fashion or whatever, but like frankly, who the fuck cares? I just be buying shit that goes with shit, and that's what I'm trying to do. And
that really
yeah,
only applies to the people that want to keep up with the Joneses and want to try to keep up with the actual fashion world and pretend they're in the fashion world. And if not, then it's for the people in the fashion world who are in the business day to day. They can't wear last year's fashions because they're on the cutting edge of their industry and their
right.
business. For everybody else in the world, like, please, like, that's why Jordan's first, you know, 16 sneakers, depends who you ask. 13, you ask me, it's like the first 9. But like, you know, those keep on getting recycled over and over, and people keep on wearing them because it doesn't matter if they came out back in the 90s. What matters is how good the shit is, you know? So
Right.
yeah, no. I mean, listen, man, I could advocate for Century 21 over and over. It's and like all real New Yorkers that are about their drip got like a dope ass Century 21 story. I might start incorporating this into our perspectives
Interviews.
show, but interviews, yeah. But yeah, we went into Century 21. They're reopened. It's a classic New York City department store that doesn't exist anywhere else. We're privileged. We're great for having
Honestly, you
it.
gotta go all the way up to the fourth floor to find all the men's shit, shoes. It's like one of them
Mhm.
places that's got the elevator in it. It's got the like escalators. We gotta like walk
Nah,
around
there's
and
a whole
find
bunch
it.
of things
It's a
that changed
vibe though.
because that's why I was looking lost a little bit because the elevator banks were not where they used to be.
Mm,
There used to be elevator banks with about 5 elevators, four or five elevators next to each other, and they were no longer there. There was only one elevator, which used to be the staff elevator, if I'm not mistaken. Which is why I wasn't aware of where it was. You know what I mean? So it's just literally one of those things where, like, yo, a lot of things have changed in the store. Like they said in the video, it went from being 6 floors to being 4 floors. One of those floors that got sacrificed was the specifically higher end designer brands. It's still fantastic that they're reopened. All New Yorkers that are drip kings should definitely make sure that they swing by now that they're reopened. On to
right.
the next topic. Since we're talking about New York and we're talking about the last couple weeks, we're getting back into sports and the NBA playoffs are still happening and the Knicks started nicking and they lost their series. Just as I assumed. Um, I love my New York teams. I wish I could see. I wish I. It's crazy that I never thought that in my lifetime I'd see a black president, and I got a black president before I got a Knicks championship in my lifetime. That's fucking insane, yo. Like, yo, the
Like when
Knicks
you
have
put
been
it like
losing.
that. Like when you put it like that.
The
There.
Knicks have been losing for a long time, baby, man. It is rough. It is, and I just refuse to. I know Knicks fans that like are so devoted to being Knicks fans that every year they're cheering them on at the beginning of the year and talking about like how they can do it this year. And it's just like, how do you still have this like unyielding faith in something that you can tell is so broken and like never gonna work? And I'm just like, I don't understand, but they be there every year, and they were
And I
cheering
see
them on.
that shit a lot. I mean, granted, Montreal last won hockey in '93, so I mean, at least they have a thing in my lifetime. But Bro, it's been 30 years, and every year it's the same shit. Same shit. And yo, sometimes we go far, but then I don't know what the equivalent of the Knicks nicking is for Montreal, but we be doing that every year since
First
'93.
Montreal.
It's just how it is. Almost every team, and then some. You know, some American hockey team gonna win that shit because they got like. It's
That's
just what
fucked
it
up.
is. I mean, trust the American team is gonna win that shit full of Canadian and Russian players.
Absolutely. 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 But
Um,
yeah, so the Knicks started nicking. The Lakers got swept. My man LeBron James is out of it. So I really don't got nobody left to root for. Keeping on the subject of NBA and basketball, Ja Morant got suspended from the NBA for flashing his gun on social media, or for his boy flashing his camera that was recording Ja Morant in his personal time, fucking around with his gun. Um, then Ja Morant made a cryptic post saying goodbye to his mother, his father, to his baby girl, his daughter, and the local cops in the city that he's living in went and did a wellness check on him, and he's all right, but people were definitely scared. I think in this day and age, I think that he said something along the lines of like, "Nah, it wasn't even that," but like, let's be real, bro. You like he was saying that he was just gonna take a break from social media, but the truth is, you don't say goodbye to your mother and father and daughter when
that's kind of
you
weird.
are taking a break from social media. You know what I mean? You
Well, at
say
least
goodbye to social
there's
media
been
people.
too many people that have made posts like that who proceeded to do the sad thing within a week. So it's like if you make a post and then people care enough to do that, like I don't think you can really be mad at that. You created that circumstance for yourself. Like whatever about the gun part, I've heard all the conversations surrounding that where I'm like, I don't really know enough about dude and his gun. We don't really have the same right to bear arms. So I just kind of bounce
Yeah,
off the gun conversation. Like it's not a Canadian. It's incomparable, but a lot of people seem unthrilled with that. But if you go and make the post like that, you can't be mad about the wellness check things, and you should be
yeah.
cautious about the fact that people do be watching everything you're saying online like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he probably did mean it, and I hope him. I wish him the best. I definitely don't think right. Like, I'm I have criticisms of like his actions, but at the same time, it's just like, yo, you know what? Like, um, they're neither here nor there. At the end of the day, I really think the most important thing here is that he is still alive and is healthy, and um I don't think that what was happening was enough for you know I can understand where he how he probably felt, but personally speaking, I think that there was just a certain amount of accountability that he was lacking, and for him to make that post, it shows that if things were getting to him. But like, yo, bro, you got your whole life ahead of you, and even if the worst came to worst, and you got kicked out the NBA, you still healthy young man with a certain amount of fame that you can parlay into all sorts of businesses and success. So like, I don't think that this is something that he should fret much about. He just needs to put his head down, get to work, and um,
Like
focus on that.
it's not really like an unforgivable crime. I mean, he might get lampooned for like the next 6 months, but then he gets the talk show runs, and if he's really smart about his life, this may be weirdly the best thing that's ever happened to him, all things considered.
And to be clear, nothing's actually happened to him. Like all he
Right.
did was get suspended from the NBA, which like anybody who went to public school knows the difference between suspension and expulsion. So a suspension is just a temporary leave. Um,
Right.
Expulsion is when you get kicked out. You know.
And
Um,
like
so
it's I mean, it sucks if you do end up losing an NBA opportunity, but again, you still have a billion jillion other things. Like, you can now be a TikToker, like actually be a TikToker. Like, whereas people try, done. You get brand deals on the spot the second you want it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You could use your platform to do charity work and throw yourself in that, and that could be a career for you. Because let's be very clear, the cure for cancer is never coming, and the amount of dollars that have been poured into so-called nonprofit, uh, companies that are like looking for the cure for cancer is like I'm pretty sure into the fucking like trillions, if not more. You know what I mean? And these people, what they do is they take your money that you raise all year long because, you had somebody die in your family from cancer and you want to do something and you give your money to such and such, society or hospital or benefit or whatever that's like working for the cure for cancer. And then that money goes to that company's next event and making the next event happen so that they can raise more dollars to make another event happen and keep their salaries covered, events happen.
That's a huge part of it is
And a
salaries.
minimal amount, and cancer will never be cured. So, like, like the truth is that, like, for anybody who might have heard me say that, like, he could turn, like, charity into a career, like, be upset at yourselves, be upset at these so-called charities because they are careers. All famous people do
It's just like,
charities
I think people
because
misunderstand what not-for-profit means, right? Like, they hear the term and they're like, oh, nobody's making money. No, not-for-profit means the company's existence isn't to
cover the
generate
spending.
profits. But, like, Bonnie works for a not-for-profit that does, like, a women's shelter thing. So, like, they run a service, right? It's maybe not a research place, but, they got a lot of employees. Like, because they got to have 24-hour coverage of this. It's like a literal thing. So just imagine, at the most basic of minimum wages, which people are not getting paid because you tend to pay more in these environments. Why? Because you want quality people there, which when you really run it, you can get mad. But, like, one of the weirdest criticisms I've ever seen is people getting mad that the CEOs of these not-for-profits make bank. And I'm like, hold up. So you want the crummy CEOs that are willing to work for $70K a year to run these not-for-profits. You don't want the talented motherfucker that going to actually, on that extra bit of bank, save this fucking company crazy money and do it right. So instead, anyway, there's a lot in that world.
That's to be debatable. All that stuff is to be debatable, right? Because, like, you could create a self rectifying ecosystem that is built off of bringing people up and teaching them how to do a position. So that's why they take less money, because you're giving people their first shot at an opportunity and at a position that they've been training for, that you trained them for, right?
But,
So,
like,
like, you could do that.
is when
But
you're dealing
most
with,
people
like,
and companies
donations
don't.
and shit. So, like, that's why there's so much weird bloat in a lot of these not-for-profits, is because, like, you're not even really allowed to make good money as the CEO at this shit because you get ostracized. So I believe you get this sect of CEOs that are maybe not top tier, because why would you go work for less money if you're really good at your job for the most part? And
No, they still get solid. They still get solid CEOs. They're not doing a lot of, like, first time opportunity. They are not. They're
maybe,
not
like,
getting.
the
They're
pharmaceutical
not
peoples and
getting.
shit.
They're not getting. Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, right? But they were never going to get those guys. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and they're
Well,
not getting the guys that are going to follow behind those guys because those guys are busy making their own shit, right?
fair. And, like, there's the bigger ones like the Red Cross or whatever, but then you go down to these smaller ones where they still deal with millions of dollars a year, and that's where you just see all the bloat and all that shit. Because I'm not trying to throw shots at nobody, and where, like, it's not like because, like, I know that there are legitimate ones, but a lot of them are just ran by people that don't really know how to run companies properly. because they're not those kinds of people. They usually is the salesperson that generated the most revenue ends up becoming the CEO because they've just been at the, that kind of shit happens a lot.
Listen, I will take a different take, and I will say, I don't think there's any good charity companies. And I dare a charity company to prove me wrong by actually finding the cure for cancer. How about that? Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong and get the cure for cancer. And
Haven't they
let's
like
see
dealt
some
with some
results
of them?
at one thing. Let's see some results at one thing, and then we'll talk about talking
Hold
about
on.
how great
Didn't they
charity
just
companies
cure
are.
AIDS though? Or at least deal with AIDS? I know they haven't cured cancer yet, but they did just deal with AIDS. AIDS is now curable.
It's not curable. It's livable.
No, they got like
live
this is
with it.
like within the last 2-3 years they dropped a thing that like defeats
I
the
saw the
AIDS.
things, but I don't think that that's a because none. I don't see nobody out here publicly talking about this at all. So it's just like the proof is in the pudding. If you were curing AIDS, people would be out here in droves talking about this. Like, nah, if anything, they're talking about hymns more and more. Take hymns, because hymns is I forget what it is. It's supposed to be probably like makes your shit go away and not look visible, but you still have it. But the
Right.
point being, cure cancer, yo. Cure cancer. Because there's been enough money thrown at cancer and the cure for cancer that it's just like, yo, whenever I see any fundraising happening for cancer, I'm immediately looking at everybody involved like, oh, you are a horrible person. You're profiting off of people's inability to mourn correctly and having to do something when somebody that they love died from cancer, and they throw themselves at fighting cancer and throw their whole life energy at the fight for cancer, and not realizing that it's like the war on drugs, which is like that'll never end. This is just for the profiteering of particular
Or like
companies.
if you really want to deal with cancer, and this is gonna sound strange, but you really gotta deal with the weed research because what they've found is that super rosin like does fuck like if you consume a high enough potency of rosin and like basically nuke your system with that shit, you're able to fight cancer in a different way. I can't like justify it like fully, but my homeboy works in the industry where they do the research because there is more facilities in Canada that lets that happen, and like it's like patient after patient that was like chemo, everything failed, and they just blast them with those little rosin balls and like they scale them up and shit, and like it just fucking kills the cancer over and over again. And I'm like, that's the strangest
I wouldn't be
shit. So,
surprised. I mean, listen,
so
there's
if we really
children.
want to talk about curing cancer, you gotta have weed involved. And I don't
Yeah,
mean
that
that in like a goofy way. I mean that in like a
nah.
literal way.
We were just talking about we'll jump topics, we'll get out of order here, right? But we were just talking about um uh the fall of Vice. Vice and
Mm.
Motherboard are being sold for pennies on the initial valuation dollars, right? Like I believe that the valuation was in the billions, and they're selling the company for a couple 100 million, which is like great money still to anybody who's not a millionaire, right? But like in terms of like actual business shit, like that's like horrible and
Well, I think
bad.
it's
But
it's
like,
bad because they have that valuation over debt, so it's like they're not really gonna see that money. That money is going to pay the debt that they owe. So it's not like a happy 9-figure clean out. It's more like
yeah,
a sad version of it.
this is what I'm saying. But I brought that topic up to say, like, I've seen videos on Vice of like families that are moving themselves out of the states that they live in the United States of America, to move to other ones because they have children that have uh cancer. I forget what are the different diseases they have, but they have like debilitating, life-ending diseases, right? Young kids. We're talking about like 6 year olds, 9 year olds, 7 year olds. Kids, and their parents are like helping them get by with weed, with like rosin and with just extracts. And so, it's just one of those things where, like, yeah, man, if you really want to cure cancer, to tie this up with a nice little bow, or with a messy, long, unnecessary bow, at the end of the day, you got to start like taking weed into account. Like it's just a game, yo, and it's clear that it's a game, and it's like, all right, but then don't look at me like I'm an asshole for saying that none of these charities are actually doing any charity. All they're doing is profiting off of the misery and sadness of people who lost people to cancer, and they're profiting off of their energy that they need to spend to feel like they're doing justice to the people that they lost memory, and they're
So
throwing themselves into
is this
this stuff.
just cancer for you, or is this like literally every research thing? Because like they do sometimes cure shit with this. I know
Now,
cancer is
yeah,
what it
they
is.
do sometimes cure, and yeah, I mean, I think that there's other nonprofits and charities that also feel very critical of, right? Like America is not trying to fix the homelessness problem at all in any way. Um, there's all sorts of like things that like I probably, but like cancer is definitely like top of.
Fair. Like I'm
I've
like
seen
food banks are
firsthand.
usually pretty proper. I'm like there are these like smaller
I've seen
organizations that are
Yeah,
like
food banks usually work out well, but that's because they're community organized.
so yeah, like that's a community organized not for profits. Like and I've seen a bunch of them pop up in COVID and like even growing up, like I was poor, right? My mom was tapped into the Jewish community and like there is just a shit ton of Jewish not for profits. Whereas, don't get me wrong, if you're not a Jew, it doesn't really exist for you. But like there's some nice not for profits that help out the community when it is like with the goal of helping people and not with the goal of for profit. And a lot of them are probably doing it for tax write off reasons up top. I don't really know. But sometimes the benefits are fire. Like this one guy would just give away bicycles to kids and shit. Like that was what he did every year. Sometimes it's just cool shit.
Yeah, nah, I see it in New York City every day. There's events all over. It's just like a big waste, in my opinion. But
Mm.
yeah, moving on to some more topics that
What a, we didn't
we
really
we
talk.
we missed this week. Want to send rest in peace shout to Jim Brown and Tina Turner, um, two incredible human beings that my life benefited from them existing. Jim Brown was a football player in the NFL who also was a community activist, leader. Or he was just a leader of his peoples, and
Right.
didn't same as Muhammad Ali. He chose to use his platform of fame to speak of a message greater than him at a time when if LeBron James in this modern day and age is being told to shut up and dribble when it comes to like social topics like racism, then and being black in America, then you can only imagine what, right? Like we've seen the movie that Muhammad Ali had, right? And so that's what those athletes were dealing with times 100 back in the 60s and 70s. And yeah, so Jim Brown uh, passed away, and then Tina Turner um, passed away. So rest in peace to both of them.
Yeah. Fair. It's just sad week, unfortunately.
Sad week, sad week, because then we move on to the next topic, which is like the death of Twitter, the death of Twitter Spaces. The other day, um, Ron DeSantis announced his presidential run on Twitter Spaces, and Twitter Spaces crashed. I was on Twitter Spaces when it happened, and it was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, what is this? Like, I kept on getting kicked off of Twitter, the app completely. Like, the whole app was crashing, and I'm like, what the fuck? And like, turns out, like after like 8 or 10 times of logging back into the same Twitter Spaces. Somebody came in the room and was like, "Oh, Ron DeSantis is like running a Spaces with Elon Musk." I always forget that musky ass name. And yeah,
Right, because it's Musk Playground now. He's trying to
um,
create moments.
it's crazy because I was just like, I don't like. He went on Twitter Spaces to make an announcement that he's running for president, which is just like, we all knew that you were running for president, like,
But it
but
wasn't official yet.
yeah, it wasn't official yet. Um, Biden Biden made a joke. The Democratic Party made like a jokey tweet of like, oh, this link works or some shit like that, like I guess poking fun at the fact that they had trouble on the Twitter Spaces, but it was like it was the biggest Twitter Spaces of all time. There was like 300,000 people in there or something like that, like
Right.
300,000 people in one space for
No,
this man to announce his
and
presidential
keep in
run.
mind, we're also
And
saying this in an Elon Twitter where he fired everybody and like the staff is just not what it used to be.
I mean, regardless, still, the point is, like, they drew 300,000 people into one space. Like, that's never happened before, right? Like, these are incredible numbers. And, like,
Yeah.
the Democratic Party's, like, trying to poke fun at the fact that, like, they had issues with the with the space at first. And it's just like, I don't know why the Democratic Party always thinks that they're, like, in some, like, higher up position. Because, like, everybody that I like, the same way that I could have told you that like Trump was probably going to win that first time that he ran, and I could also tell you that I could tell that people wanted him to lose on his reelection. Is the same way I could tell you that like Biden is not going to win this like reelection.
Oh, there's
Like,
no way.
no way, no way. It's
Nobody
going to be
want a guy
mess.
that has trouble talking.
Nobody wants a guy who keeps on lying about where his son died. Like, he keeps on telling people he died in the Iraq War, and it's like, he didn't die in the Iraq War. We all know where your son died. What? Like, you're being weird. Like, are you lying or are you senile already? That's what people are like. Like, that's what's being brought into question. Is like, even for people who right now, I'm not mocking. I'm not making fun of him. It's
No.
literally like, which one is it? Like, you have to be either senile or blatantly lying to say something that I know to not be true. Like, he's your son, right? You could tell me, hey, my son was this way, that way, and I'll be like, yo, you know your son better than me, right? Like, that's absolute truth. But when you die and you're a public figure, everybody knows where you died. So, like, if you didn't die at war, we all know you didn't die at war. So why are you, his father, telling us that he died at war when, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're either lying or you are going senile. So he's definitely not going to win. So, like, I really don't know why the Democratic Party, it's just like, it's kind of a joke.
Does he have to run? Like I don't really know 100% how
I
this
think
works. Can like the Democrats be
the way
like,
that it
"Fuck
works,
you, Biden. You are not our guy."
the way that it works, if I'm not mistaken, is that he has the Democratic Party nominee because he's the Democratic president. But there can be Democratic candidates that step up. But 9 times out of 10, it's one of those, like, it's a given that people are just going to stay with the same, like, like, oh, we're Democrats. We already got our guy in office. Why would we change him for another Democrat, right? I think the only way that it really happens where like a Democrat candidate like becomes an actual front runner and is a candidate for president is if the president makes it be known that he's going to step down at the end of his um 4-year
Right. Which
run.
the 80-year-old dude should probably do that.
Probably should do that.
That's the wildest shit is how old everybody running is.
American, right? And now I'm speaking directly to you, America. Like, you should stop electing ancient aliens and like start looking at like the younger candidates. You should get yourself informed. You should stop looking for a familiar name and challenge yourself to be a better person for yourself and your country, and actually look at the candidates and find one that is actually fitting, instead of letting the majority of people do the work for you, and then
You know,
jumping in at the main election, jumping in at the main election and wanting there to be quality candidates at that late of a point. You jump in early so you can pick early who should be the candidate, and you vote then when it matters, not at the election in November when it's already a foregone conclusion.
but it's like everybody sits there and makes fun of old people everywhere. Like nobody really want to work for a company that has a 70-something-year-old CEO. Like you don't really want to be there. You just know it's going to be this archaic. Like, you just don't want that vibe. So why is it that when it comes to politics, all of a sudden that's what people want? Like, wouldn't you rather like want some 50-year-old that like at least is somewhat tapped in? Like these 50-year-olds are doing incredible shit, becoming billionaires and stuff. So like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying Jay-Z per se, but you look at him and his age group, and
Probably that's
it
probably the
makes
reason.
a lot
Because
more
50 year
sense.
olds, the good, successful 50-year olds that probably would turn this country around are like, I'm busy making a company that's going to make me billions of dollars. I don't give a fuck what you guys do at this point. Like, you fuck this, you shit the bed already. I'm never
That's fair.
going to focus on laying in this bed. I'm laying in the bed across the world. So, because that's what ends up happening is when you end up getting enough money, you realize you're a borderless person. So, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what happens in America. It's like, America's America. Let them kill themselves. Let them, like, whatever, bro. I don't really give a fuck. I can fly wherever I want to, and my money insulates me from having to deal with the public people. So it's just like,
That's
successful
fair.
people don't give a fuck, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't either.
Okay, so
I'd be
maybe
like,
not like even like the most successful, but I just meant like the age group. Like pick a fucking 50-year-old politician. That guy's still
yeah,
more in touch with reality than the 80-year-olds who literally grew up like before everything that you know. Like his childhood is just so different. Like probably had farms and shit, whereas most of us did not. I don't
listen,
know.
it's crazy, but like, Trump might actually be the best candidate this coming election. It's crazy,
I don't know
and I
anything
don't like
about
Trump at
DeSantos.
all. I hate Trump. DeSantis was a fucking Trump crony. He was a fucking Trump follower. So it's just like, if you ask me, I don't want the psycho that
Hey, what up,
thought
Showbiz?
that thought.
Showbiz popped in on Facebook.
What up, showbiz? I don't want the psycho that thought, yo, Trump is the guy I want to follow behind. Like, give me Trump. Fuck it. Give me Trump. I'd rather Trump than the fucking crony behind Trump that followed Trump on some, like, this is the guy I want to fucking follow behind. Like, oh, you're the guy I don't want to follow behind. You know what I mean? Like, give me Trump back. I'll deal with that shit. Like, let him throw some fucking paper towels at my head and shit. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah,
What?
man. Donald Trump, when Puerto Rico had the hurricane that devastated it, Hurricane Maria, he went to Puerto Rico and he like gathered people in a crowd and started throwing paper towel rolls into the crowd, because that's what you do when people are devastated by a hurricane and lost everything in their life. You throw bounty at their heads, because that makes sense. So that it was a pun directed at that.
Damn.
Like,
Like sometimes when you hear about the shit he did, you're like, damn. I mean, it's what the Royals do, so they're also foul like that. But like,
yeah.
it's just wild to think about. Like, how do you get to the conclusion where you're gonna film yourself doing this and think it's a good idea?
I mean, it's not even film yourself. At that point, it's like, that the moment's so big that all the cameras from all the stations are gonna be there, and that's what you choose to do. Like, it was crazy. Trump was a crazy president, and I'm pretty sure people think, I know people who, a lot of people want him back because they fantasize things. So they're fantasizing the the quarantine and the free money that they got, and they don't realize when Trump comes back, he's not giving away any more free money. It's not like he's gonna come back and be like $10,000 for everybody. That's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? But everybody in their head that like is dealing with the like bad time after COVID and the quarantine and whatnot, and then had to deal with it under Biden, like they equate it with Biden. They're just like, oh, as soon as we get Trump back in office, like it's back to free money and all my financial problems will go away. And it's just like, that's not the way it works. And that's not what's going to happen. He's not giving away no more money, and he's not going to come save you, broke motherfuckers. That's for fucking sure. But
that's what it is.
Let people, fucking whatever, man. At this point, that's why, like, as I become more financially, not even stable, because I've been stable before this, like more financially free, because right, that's what the extra money gives you is freedom. And the more that I realize that, like, where I used to care, I don't care anymore. A lot of these problems aren't me like that's what money grants you, is for you to be colorless. I mean, no, are you really colorless in the world? Do I still have to deal with racism? Absolutely. I was just dealing with a white person on Twitter telling me that I grew up without my daddy, because statistically speaking, that's accurate. Meanwhile, my dad is still alive and he's still married to my mother. They've been married for over 50 years now, and they parented 5 children. They're still married. They have a lovely marriage. I just spoke to my daddy the other day. I could call my father my daddy because he raised me. He was there. He was a kind, loving father. You know what I mean? So it's just like I could, but I still have, right. White people could talk to me like that because this is the world that we live in. So I still experience racism, right? Especially, but I could just enthrall myself in not dealing with social media and not caring, right? Like, I don't need to deal with social media. Like, I choose to, right? Like, I want to be here. I want to interact.
You really do like Twitter Spaces. You like it.
I'm with the shits. I'm with the shits heavy because I'm a heavy New Yorker. So, like, as New Yorkers, we're with the shits. And the internet is really kind of like a baby New York City, or like a bigger New York City, depending on how you look at it. You know what I mean? So like I'm with all that activity. So I'm like, I'll be right here. You know what I mean? I'll go back and forth with people when I feel like it. But it's one of those things where, like, I don't have to. And like the financial stability, I came back at that guy and I was like, like, tell me about how, like, methadone addiction has disparaged your family, because statistically speaking, that's what's happening to you. And statistically speaking, at what age did your mommy and daddy get divorced? Because that's the other thing white people have happening to them in droves. You know what I mean? It's like your mommies and daddies are fucking divorcing like crazy. Like,
my parents got divorced when I was 18.
Unresolved trauma from your parents' divorce. He's talking shit to me. I come from a fucking happy household and shit. My parents are still together. Like, statistics don't really mean nothing. Finances does free you, and it frees you from having to deal with certain things. Like, I could just, get lost in a world of having money and being a haver and not really caring about these problems, because I'm technically speaking above the what is that? The financial income of, like, the people who are at the whimsy of the government. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if I wanted to, I could. Like, that's literally a fact. Like, if I wanted to, I could pick up and move to another country tomorrow. And it's not like a shit talking thing. Like, people who during Trump's run were like, if Trump becomes president, I'm leaving America. And 99% of those people stayed right here because they really couldn't afford it, right? And I don't, not to mock them for not being able to afford it, right? I'm just mocking them for, like, making statements that they know that they can't. Like, I don't make statements that I don't know to be true. Like, I know for a fact I could afford it.
Yeah.
I only stay in America.
Everybody apparently wanted to come to Canada during that run, and I'm like, y'all are in for a shock when you get here.
Fucking like, America adjacent and shit. So,
like, I don't know what you think it is, but Go to
Yo,
Toronto and not
financial
have
freedom
money
is
and see how your
financial
life
freedom
is.
is the only thing that will free you from this system. And if not, you're gonna be at the whimsy of like a moronic president. It doesn't matter which party he's from, whether the Republican or Democratic Party. So I just recommend to everybody to like find financial freedom whichever way they can. And
Yeah, and just to like add to that, be mindful of what the fuck the government handout world can be. Like one of the big epiphanies I guess I've had recently is how socialist our art scene is in Canada versus how capitalist it is in America. And what you see is there's a bigger hustle in the artists that come from the States 9 times out of 10, and that hustle brings them so much fucking farther. Whereas when you like spend 2 months applying for a grant and this, that, and then you get a 10 racks up front, like you're not really grinding for that shit. I mean, you are through a grant process, but it's not like the same. You're just kind of getting permission from the government to do this project, which means if they don't like your project, they're not approving you. So like,
you know what this kind of touches on? This touches on because I'm hearing you say that, and it reminds me of a conversation me and Holden were having off air early in the week about AI. On Twitter Spaces yesterday, actually,
yeah,
Holden turned me on Twitter Spaces, and he was talking about how AI is going to replace a lot of things and how it's going to create new industries for people. And I was telling him that there was. It reminds me of the last episode, or near the second last episode of the latest season of Rick and Morty, where the dinosaurs come back to Earth, right? And they're like, "Yo, we're like highly developed. You need to let us take over. You guys just do nothing, just kick back, go on vacation." And like humans fucking hated it. Like after a while, they were ready to like pull their like hair out. And then eventually what happened at the end of the episode was like they kicked the dinosaurs off the planet so that they could go back to so that humans could go back to fucking up the planet because we don't need that kind of help. But and so your point in the spaces yesterday was that like that's what this will create. I like to think that what you're talking about now is really what will happen, which is right. AI is going to come into existence. It'll be easy to use. There'll be a lot of AI art created with it, and it will force artists to create greater art than what it is that the AI can create. Create new art that AI couldn't imagine creating, and create better art than the AI could ever try to create.
or at least
And I
art.
think that's where the win comes in with a lot of this stuff.
And just to give people like one extra thing on that, like that's gonna mean creating art that's targeted at humans, because the AI is always gonna be guessing what humans want. But you can walk into a fucking room, and if you like understand the vibes, you can literally curate your set to that room and make sure that your shit's fire and like people there connect with you, and like you can throw shit at the crowd, and like you can create more of a spectacle than what AI is ever going to bring to the table from creation, because it's really just what exists and then it's repurposing what already exists. So it's like it's not innovative unless you're innovative, to that end. Even like most people's AI creations are going to be basic. Even what the labels are going to do, it's going to be basic. It's just going to be like a Calvin Harris song. You know, like they're already like they're great, but like, you know, it's a whole thing for what it is. I'm not, you know, most artists aren't trying to, I think, create that. Yeah, so I think it's going to be blessings, but also thin out the crowd a bit, because you're really going to have to try to create your art and really have to go at like a different level of innovation.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of like when the internet came to be, right? Like there were all sorts of talented people that just didn't have the grind, and then there's talentless people that have the grind in them, and people don't realize that in order to be like a content creator that is really actually successful, you have to have that hustle and that grind in you, or else you're never gonna succeed at this shit. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where, like, you know, it separates the boys from the men. And
And
um, I think that, yeah, AI will end up causing advances and rollbacks. But at the end of the day, it all always is like anything in life. It's going to be an improvement on the system that we had prior.
Sort of like our next topic, which ties into this all super smoothly with Apple announcing their VR. Because let's be real, VR is just a completely adjacent topic.
I don't know if you know this, but I did all that on purpose.
I know.
I'm a professional here. You know what I mean? Hey,
I know. I see you. I see you.
Yo, only play like the first couple minutes and do it in the triple time.
We are just days away from what could be the most important Apple event since Steve Jobs debuted the iPhone. Apple's developed.
Yeah, up that speed.
Just doing that trash shit. There we go.
Press conference, WWDC. It happens every year in June, and it is usually a place to find news on software updates, like what features are coming soon for iPhones, Mac computers, and Apple Watches. But it is not the same every year. Sometimes Apple shows off new hardware, and all eyes this year are on Apple's first gadget, For Your Eyes, the long-rumored mixed reality headset, which we don't have any official imagery.
She sounds cracked the fuck out, sped up.
Yeah. So we keep showing renderings made by some artists that cobble together clues from reporting and leaks. I told you this could be the most important Apple event, and that's because if Apple launches this new category of gadget to put on your head, it's one more thing to add to the Apple product lineup, and it could go down in history as being this pivotal moment in tech, changing the way we think about personal computing. Or it could be a historic flop. Either way, you really should tune into this one. Tim Cook takes to the stage for the keynote at the Apple Park campus on Monday, June 5th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and it is something that you can watch at home as it is broadcasted on Apple's WWDC 2023 page and the Apple YouTube channel. I have for you a simple guide on what news to expect and what questions we hope.
Yeah, she's just going to talk about this upcoming event, but the key point is the VR, right?
I mean, yeah, there's some other key factors that are inside that 1.5 minute to 3 minute mark. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, you know, really, right? Like, the things that are to be talked about, I put in there, right? There's like, Apple is getting in the VR game, and it's going to be called, their shit is going to be called xrOS.
This is big, though, because, like, VR's been lit, but not cool. Like, if anyone's really used it, it's fire. Like, it's an experience. It's corny, though, and that's always kind of been the problem. Is, like, you're going back 15 years in graphics, and, like, even the best shit doesn't look cool, and unfortunately that makes it super hard to make regular people jump on board. But if Apple pulls up with some fucking AirPod shit, they made earbuds cool, okay? Like, nobody fucked with earbuds until Apple made AirPods fire, and then...
I mean, when you look at what Apple has done, period, right? And
or smartwatches. Nobody cared till Apple did it.
Nobody cared about smartwatches until the fucking iWatch. I promise
MP3 player?
I did not give a fuck about it. I cared about MP3 players because it was like any natural progression. It became the new Walkman. Like the same way that I picked up a Discman as soon as they made Discman affordable for people, right, to carry with them. I had a Discman with me, right? And so the same way that as soon as there was MP3 players that were affordable, I had them, and I even had an iPod, right? But like the truth is that the iPod was the superior product. It was better than everything that I had. That was like there were cool features about everything else, but it wasn't an iPod.
And I really think that with the VR, Apple can pull up and do it in a way where y'all are already Appled the fuck up.
I got another one.
Sync your shit to all your fucking shit. It's gonna be flawless.
I got another one to offer you. You're born in a different era than me. What were the computers in your school?
So I started with the MS-DOS shit when I was like young, like the floppies and shit, like the whatever, and then Windows 98 Pentium shits was basically like the next while, and then we kind of just moved with, like, I hit high school in like 2000, so like, which is your middle school, but so like
okay, that so in high school, what was there in high school?
Windows XP. We were in the XP.
You guys didn't have an iMac at any point in your schooling?
Nah, because it was fucking, they were way more expensive, right? and so we're in public school and shit. So we're getting the cheaper Windows
Nah, I
computers.
thought that even then there would still be like, oh, that all moment when like the teacher brings in the one, like they spent the money
Nah,
on one iMac.
I don't know
They
about other
make sure that you
schools.
learn
My
both the
school
system.
was a hood school, so
Yeah,
that shit was not going down like that. Like literally, we used to have band instruments, and they like sold them all before I joined, and all the other high schools had band instruments from our high school. Like we were not in a good place for money. It died the year I graduated. So other people may have had the Mac moment, but even
work.
then, I went to college or CEGEP, our little in between shit after, and I don't remember Macs there. But when I did pop into university at a certain point, there was Macs. Definitely, they were on the Mac
I
life.
mean, I'm probably speaking from like wild privilege standpoint of like having, right, like back then, my best man in my wedding, Hot Rizzo, big shouts out to bro Hot Rizzo. Um, he had an iMac in like orange or some shit like that, or blue, and like that was the way. It was like, yo, like, and it was that. It was when the iMac turned into like your whole computer was inside the screen, and all you needed was that screen and the fucking mouse that was attached to it. And like that was like monumental, where it was like no more towers, no more Dell, you know what I mean? Like tower shit. I'm just thinking of all the moments that Apple has had
Right.
that is like, yo, Apple has done so much revolutionary shit. I don't really see them
They also
jumping into
have
the VR game at this point to take a loss, you
and they have
know?
one advantage over all the other tech companies where it's the privacy thing. Like everybody remembers when they did not give the FBI access. And everyone remembers how time after time Apple has just kind of sided with people when it comes down to privacy shit. So like if Google be dropping glasses, you're feeling like, Google gonna spy on everything I do here. Microsoft, sorry, bud. I mean, I use your computer and you're spying on me right now, but like we know you're spying on us. Apple gonna be like, nah, that's in the vault. We're gonna make more money. We'll spy on you, but nobody gonna see it. Like we know how to do this.
All right.
We got 9 figures in banks. Just no, I think they have over $1 billion in a bank. Just like they don't need to do the cheap selling ad shit that other people do because they're fucking Apple. So I think that they'll be able to establish a trust that this isn't creepy and that this isn't weird in a way where, let's be real, Oculus is owned by Facebook. Like, you're kind of like, do I really want them scanning my whole house?
Yeah, nah. It definitely Oculus isn't the wave.
They did their role though. They were there. It's
They,
sick.
they added, they contributed to what was happening in the conversation. Um, it just wasn't it. I think that if anybody's got an opportunity to really like hit something that'll like be meaningful, that like people will like fuck with and like jump on it, it's this. This
It's,
is the closest so far. It
I
feels
think
like.
Apple's gonna come through, and then the follow up is gonna be Sony, and that's when it's solidified. Because
Right.
all Sony does is watch what people do, and then they legitimately do it slightly better in their own way. It won't be in the way Apple likes. It's more like the way Android likes. Like they're gonna hit that crowd, and then that's when shit's like pop. This is the second you see Sony and Apple competing in VR. Because I don't think any other companies can pull this off and be cool with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right.
Next.
Moves us on to the next topic. Jay-Z to open the first casino in Times Square, New York City with Caesar's Palace. What that means is that this would be the first casino in the five boroughs. In the
Like ever,
five
ever.
boroughs, in the five boroughs, there are no casinos.
So Jay-Z wants to bring
Like ever, ever.
I don't know about ever, ever. I'm not aware if there was one in the 1800s and then they stopped it when New York City. Because remember, when you were here in town, we were having a conversation that first day of like the boroughs
Right.
all
How
became
old they
boroughs
were.
in the city in 1896, but they had already existed for like 200 years before that. With like New York, right? I don't know. Who knows if it's the first ever? It's
First.
the first now in modern law since uh
Modern New York.
gambling was made illegal in New York City. I forget
Yeah.
how, in which ways, which uncertain terms. But now, essentially, we're going to become Vegas. And I don't see what the point of Vegas is going to be anymore after that.
Bring a casino to Times Square. It's Asia Sky here for Hip Hop DX, and check this out. Jay-Z's Roc Nation has penned an open letter to New York City explaining why it should be awarded the contract to break ground on a casino in the heart of Times Square. The entity has partnered with Caesars Palace and is eager to earn the gaming license that's expected to be handed out by the state later this year. Jay-Z's Roc Nation letter ended up in NYC-based newspapers such as the New York Post and New York Daily News on Thursday, May 11th, as Roc Nation envisions an 8-story casino with table games built on the existing Broadway skyscraper in Times Square's theater district. While some in the theater industry are vehemently opposing the idea of a casino coming into their backyard, Jay attempted to ease their worries and promised to benefit and provide financial aid for the community. Roc Nation's bid will reportedly divert $115 million directly to invest in diverse theater programs to protect Broadway's interests, as well as deliver a transportation plan and invest in sanitation and security. The letter read, New York is the epicenter of culture. We have the opportunity to create a destination at the heart of the true crossroads of the
I feel
world.
like I
Our
could have
partnership with
edited
SL
all
Green
that
and Caesars
B-roll
has
the
all
way
the
it
promise
was
and
done.
commitment to economic opportunity, growth, enrichment for the community, and everyone that visits the Empire State. The proposed casino is set to be called Caesars Palace Times Square, and it would occupy 8 floors in the 54-story tower between West 43rd and 44th. The casino floors would also house restaurants and entertainment uses, while an 800-room, 5-star hotel would be created in the building above. So what are your thoughts on Jay-Z partnering with Caesars Palace to try and bring a casino to Times Square? And do you think they'll win the contract to build the
I guess that would open up a huge can of worms.
Yeah, that was the only thing that New York City didn't have. That, I mean, the other thing is like 24/7 good weather. Like that's the
And
other reason
Walmart.
people leave New York City to go to California and Florida because they have better weather than we do. They want year-round warmth, and New York City is like we have winter, we have summer, we have spring and fall. Like each season is its season. And then the other thing was we don't have gambling, but and legal pot, and now we've had legal weed. I'm
Yo,
pretty
I could
sure.
say the prices have started to regulate up there, and it's like you can just be walking into stores, and it's a lot more affordable than it was even in January. Like I feel like shit
Definitely,
got a lot
definitely,
nicer.
definitely. I can tell you from dealing with the other end of it that definitely. Listen, let me tell you something. Like when it first popped off, I was like, yo, it's crazy. There were so many fake hustlers. Everybody became the connect. Everybody became, I'm the flag, I'm the flag, I'm the flag. I got bud for the low. They don't realize that they were just getting flooded with like packs from like Oklahoma and other cities that had failed grows. And like New York City was getting flooded with trash weed. And I knew it because I deal with actual Californians that are actually in like the like Emerald Triangle and like connected with actual grows that are actually like know what the fuck they're doing. So like yo, to watch what happened here was crazy. And but in my head I knew it was only gonna take a year. You wanna know why? I was like, this will be only a year because fake hustlers, they don't have what it takes to sustain. They don't have what it takes to stay at their job for longer than a year. They're going to run off on the plug with their money at some point. They're going to fuck up the bread at some point because they're not real hustlers. So they're going to fuck up the money at some point. So I was just like, I just got to wait these motherfuckers out. This is going to be a year. I promise you, they won't ever. That's my everything with everybody who I know is like shitty at life. Like if I know that you're shitty at life and you jump in a relationship with like a person, I'm like, oh, give that shit a year. Promise you, it's not gonna last longer than a year. This fuck up's gonna fuck that up in a year. Promise you that, because fuck ups usually don't have what it takes to be like wake up and do a thing over and over, year after year, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Like that takes like dedication, and people like that don't have it. So yeah, now that they're all gone, the prices are gonna like everything, because also you had new businesses dealing in a business that they never really dealt with
Yeah,
before.
honestly, like we went to some spot that was open 2 weeks prior, and it was like they knew what they were doing. They walked in, they had more money than all the other places, and they cut the prices down on this shit. But they also came in with crazy premium products. Like first time in my life I bought weed, I thought it was worth $100 Canadian for an eighth. It was like the craziest shit ever. I'd never smoked anything like it. It was And I don't think you can find that in other places. Like, that to me felt like, okay, I'm in New York City and I'm finding this insane weed that I'm probably not going to find anywhere but LA. I do believe the shit's probably in LA, but
Definitely.
yeah, no, it's different. And it's like,
LA is to weed as New York is to fashion. Like
right.
there's nobody that can touch them. Like they're the ones that have grown this industry with no other place. Like the only other place that people could think of is Amsterdam, and Amsterdam wasn't good at what they did. They just were the place that was legal. You know what I mean? That's kind of like Vegas when it comes to gambling. Like it was just a place where you could go for the legal gambling. But now that like gambling is getting legal in places like New York City, it's like count your days, Vegas, because that was like like I guess you could still be the West Coast version, but like even then, like couldn't be like half of New York City on your best day. So, but yeah, so Jay-Z's coming.
Don't they stop? Isn't that in Nevada where the prostitutes are legal?
Yeah.
That's where they're still gonna get you.
I mean, that's one of those baby things because New York City's not legal for it, but like everybody knows what time it is that wants to participate in that world. And
right.
You're also another thing is like this is like a real thing. Is like a New York City 6 is a 10 everywhere else. You know, so like the women in New York City, even when they're uglier, they're prettier than the women everywhere else. You know,
I mean,
like
I think Montreal holds its weight, bro.
I hear you,
there.
but that's
I'm
not.
Throw that out there.
I hear you, right? But this isn't a thing that I'm inventing right now. This isn't a Donald Glover has mentioned in
Bro,
his.
New York celebrities come up to Montreal because our women be better. That's a known thing.
I hear you, right? Hear you. But that's not the word in the world. That's not a pop culture world. That's not a lyric in Donald Glover's music. That's not a lyric in Biggie's music. That's not a lyric in Jay-Z's music. That's not a lyric in nobody that like, right, changes the culture, right? Like that's a thing that everybody understands, right? Listen, I know it gets annoying being friends with New Yorkers. Especially one like me, that's like, especially one that's like me. It's like, yo, my city's better than your city. I'm sorry. Like, sucks for you, but I'm from the illest city in the world. Like, it's like, that's like being from who's Wayne Gretzky's team?
Wasn't he Winnipeg or something? No, then he hit the Rangers.
I don't know, man. Well, whoever Winnipeg, when he was in Winnipeg, people in Winnipeg were able to be like, yo, we'll kick everybody in the world's ass in hockey. Kick everybody, you know what I mean? And they could talk like that.
And the truth is, I'm no better. I'm like mad obnoxious about Montreal versus everything else in Canada. So like,
I hear you. I mean,
I get where you're coming from because I basically do the same thing.
You tried to come down to New York and compare fucking Montreal weed to New York. I was like, this kid is crazy. But I get it. You know what I mean? Like you have a love and appreciation for your city. You know what I mean? Like
I think it contends. Like I don't think it wins the global race. We just take trophies.
The only thing that I would tell you for that is this. Before I said New York City is the greatest city, right? I went to wild other cities. I've been to every state in the United States of America with the exception of Alaska. So like, I'm not speaking from like, I've read about Memphis or I read about New Orleans or I read about, I read about 4 Points in the United States or like I read about Utah, Salt Lake. Like, nah, I've been to those places. So like, I could tell you from literally having been there and stayed there and like partied there or traveled through there or spent the night there, or spent the weekend there or spent the week there that like, yo, I know everywhere else in the United States of America. And then I know, right, like I know 2 major cities in the country next door. I know major cities in the Caribbean and I know a major city in Southeast Asia. You know what I mean? So like when I'm comparing from like the experience of having been to these other places to be able to say, like, yo, New York is actually better in all these other ways. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bangkok is bigger. I'll give Bangkok that. Like they're bigger than New York City, but what they don't have is the melting pot of like, yo, you got people from all over the world. Like they have people from all over the world passing through, but they don't have people from all over the world that help build the culture of that city
Right.
into what that city is. And that's what we have in New York City. Is like the beauty of like a melting pot of all these cultures from all over the world, all building this city up
Nah,
together.
but you guys
This is
also have is a population density. Like, cause some of the things when you say it like that, I'm like, yeah, Montreal's a melting pot too. Like, immigration is how our population grows, but
that's
we are
everywhere.
so spread the fuck out by comparison that you don't have like we were in Manhattan, and it was like graduation time, I guess, because there was fucking people everywhere. But I like stopped for a half second and looked up, and I couldn't see buds anywhere. I was like, yo, there's just like you need some real shit to get that many people pulled up anywhere in Montreal to get that kind of pop. And this was just like, granted, it's graduation time, so it's a little more, but this felt like a regular fucking occurrence to have that many fucking people pulling up in the middle of the busy parts of the city, just everywhere, like seas of people. Like that's the type of shit a parade has to happen in Montreal to get, like, or a protest or something big. And this was just regular shit.
Right.
Diamond District was full of people. Everything's full of people. It's like the Diamond District in Montreal is like 3 buildings, and in New York it's like blocks of buildings and merchants, and like it's just that's the scale of population density. I think where like I can't argue with that. It creates just more opportunity, like across the board, which innovates everything. So it's like as long as you're willing to put yourself in a place, you'll find it. Whereas dead ass in Montreal, you might have to leave Montreal to get the kind of opportunity you can get walking into a different neighborhood in New York. And I don't like to admit that, but I'm starting to see that some real shit.
It's a 100% fact. It's just that people don't. I mean, but there's the thing too is that we're actually really big too. It's just that uh, we don't really need to be any more spread out, while other cities depend on being spread out so that they could claim how much bigger they are than the other cities in their states or provinces or countries. You know what I mean? Like they need like LA needs to spread out wide, or else it can't compete with New York City in big city terms, because
I
we
definitely
go
think Toronto did that with the Greater Toronto area.
we go up. And but the thing is this is that we're like it's like, oh yeah, but it's because New York City goes up so high in so many buildings. It's like, yeah, but also really wide. Like go Google the numbers and go compare them city to city.
Honestly,
Like
I would
we're
say
still
do
also
some fucking street map shit, because like it's even Googling it doesn't really give you the scale and perception. You have to like drop yourself into like a neighborhood on
no,
Google
I meant
Maps
Google
and
it
like
as in like the square, right? Because each city is got like that's the dimension of the city, right? So like every city, there's bare numbers that you could compare,
oh
which
right
is your
right.
population and like the square mileage of the city and the capita, you know. But
But I'm just saying, like, people don't get how big the fucking buildings are and how many of them are together. And then you sit there and you look at one of these complexes and you're like, yo, there's like 5,000, 10,000 people easy just living in these like 6 fucking buildings. And
mhm.
you might get a 1-2 neighborhood in most other major cities that feel like that. But like in New York, it's just literally everywhere. Like everywhere else is buildings. Like I was saying it to Buzz on our way down. I'm like, yo, you see buildings like that in Montreal, but they're all commercial.
Mhm.
There's no residential, like a couple neighborhoods, but mostly there's no residential buildings that are 30 something fucking floors high and shit like that. But that's just everywhere. It's wild shit.
No, yeah,
Anyway,
it definitely is that way. But
yeah.
yeah, next topic.
Kanye's
YouTuber
girlfriend.
flirts with Kanye's wife, and the internet reacts with comments of her being too flirty. Let's check out the video and see exactly what it is that the people are saying. And
so Kanye West's wife is being slammed online for being too flirty with a stranger. Hey, what's up? I'm A-Dub, and check this out. So an Instagram influencer by the name of Grateful Boy New ran into Bianca on Saturday, May 20th, where he seemed to encounter her in a shopping mall. Grateful Boy New's YouTube channel features him hitting on random women in public for sport, and Bianca was just his latest target. While they engaged in a little bit of back and forth, Bianca smiled politely and engaged him cordially as he complimented her for being sexy and having good eye contact. Grateful Boy New then took his advance one step further when he asked her for her phone number.
Hi. I like your hair.
Oh, you do? I literally just dyed it again.
Today?
No, I cut it like 3 weeks ago, and then I just dyed
What color is it?
It's like white. But originally?
Now.
Now it's white, but originally it was brown.
Yeah, you're sexy. My name New.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. You from LA?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I just moved out here and shit, man.
Where are you from?
Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, you got good eye contact.
Yeah. You just shopping around?
Yeah, yeah. You?
Yeah, it's the same. It's just a pair of shorts I wanted to see.
Yeah, can I get your number?
I'm married.
For real? Oh, damn.
Sorry.
That sucks. When you're married, you can't even have friends.
I know.
But I understand, though.
I know. Sorry.
It's nice meeting you, though.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good rest of your day. I gotta go use the bathroom.
Go for it.
But it didn't take long for the comments weighing in on the matter to come in, with many people criticizing her and accusing her of acting inappropriately for a married woman. Bit too friendly for a married woman, she's just absorbing compliments. Kanye finna go crazy on you. Your name will be in songs and big interviews. But another commenter argued that she didn't do anything wrong in this video. Y'all keep saying she married, but as a woman, you can respectfully have the convo and let it be known, like she did. When we're rude, we get cursed out or called a name, and if this little interaction made him feel like he had a chance, who's the easy one? But what do you think about this interaction on this guy's YouTube channel? Do you think she was too flirty, or was she just being nice? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below.
Oh, people are mad.
what do you think? What do you think, Holden? Was she being too flirty, or was she just being nice?
I think she was playing defensive, to be honest with you. You have a guy approaching you with a camera in a public. You're a high-profile person. It's like you customer service that motherfucker. You put on the smile, you interact, and then that shit lasted less than a minute, and she basically dipped out the "I'm married" and got the fuck out as quick as possible. Didn't give up the number. But yeah, I saw a girl in defensive mode. I don't know, maybe it came off as flirty, but like, to me, she looked like, I'm just trying to protect myself here. Who's this fucking weirdo? What's he gonna do next? Like, I saw that fucking line of reasoning going through her head.
When I saw it and I watched it with the wife, she said what I said, which is like, she just looked like she was really just being nice. Like, nice as in like, oh, like, you're ugly, you're not my kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like
that's flirting?
Yeah, I don't know. This generation has a different perception of flirting than I do.
Or like, what do people expect? So somebody comes up and compliments you, go fuck yourself, I'm married. Like, I don't want to live in that world, to be honest with you. That's weird.
No, yeah. But that brings us to this week's topic. What crosses the line when the opposite sex is talking to your partner?
Yeah, that's all about conversations to me. Like, I know wild people with different limits. Like, I've seen people that are cool with partners dancing with other people because they know it's just dancing and it's what it be. Or like, flirting's fine. Yeah, I know people that encourage each other to flirt for free shit. Like, yo, say, where you gonna buy you a drink? Go get 2 drinks. Come back. You know, like, I've seen all kinds of limits. But what's really important is that the partners have the conversation amongst themselves and establish their own boundaries. And then, frankly, everybody else can fuck right off. Because people got wild opinions, which is great. Because you may feel something's away. But, like, yo, like, I don't know, I've sold shit by flirting here and there. Like, I'm not afraid to do a 1-2 flirt to sell you a fucking pickle shirt. Like, what? I'll do what I gotta do to get the bag. There's limits. I'm not being inappropriate, but if I gotta smile and be charming, it's what it be.
Yeah, like, I'll pull my dick out, but you're like, hey, I'll be charming and flirtatious.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Work. So, for you, it's like per case.
Whatever y'all feel comfortable with. And everything. It's all about the lines you establish with your person. So,
no, definitely
and
that.
Then
definitely
within that, if you were to go like super general for the sake of it, I'd say like, yeah, it's really about intentions. People can like have little moments where it's all innocent, but everybody knows that it's when you start like being foul with it, you start getting too touchy and shit. So you start touching that. For me, I start going, hold on, what's happening here? Like if it's just verbal, little space is kept, okay, cool. You start getting into the super touchy shit, I'm like, yo, it's weird. Like especially men be wildly touching women, and 9 times out of 10 the women don't like being touched. So like for me, that kind of is like, hold on. Maybe at that point it gets weirder, but I don't know. Even to that end, it's what's up with your partner, but I think that's where I'm not. Like, if it's just verbal, I don't give a fuck. Like, what are you going to say?
Word.
What about in your world?
Yeah, definitely verbal. But, yeah, verbal. Because, like, I mean, yeah, I guess it depends. Because I'm also not, like, letting no guys, like, come up to my wife and, like, make out with her. But also, she kisses all my guy friends on the cheek, which is, like, a very New York and cultural thing to do. Like, when guys are saying hi to their friends that are women, they're 9 times out of 10 going to give a kiss and give a hug, like a light
Right.
hug.
I feel like that's like not the full same as, like the flirty touching shit.
No, not the same at all. But there's the thing is that anybody could turn anything into something that feels not right.
Right.
Depends on how you do it. You know what I mean? And the type of energy you're putting behind it. You can perverticize anything and any action.
So I asked ChatGPT, as we've been doing. I got it to role play as an average Western society person. Figured that would be the best way. So it's saying it's established that you have your normal and healthy relationships with people of the opposite sex, and it's totally fine. But here's some rules. Avoid inappropriate comments that make your partner feel uncomfortable. Fair enough. Disrespect towards the relationship. If you're in the process of doing this, you insult your own relationship, this becomes problematic. So you shouldn't be dissing your own partner to flirt with the next person. That's actually a really good point too. Excessive secrecy. So if you're doing this all like super private and you're trying to be all on the low about it, like it's what it is.
Right.
That's different. Physical boundaries. So if you're touching each other, that's different. And excessive time and emotional investment. So if you're putting real effort into all of it, then it's a problem. Yo, ChatGPT's on fucking point, bro. Like, that was an on point fucking answer. Like, I'm like, straight up, if you need some guidelines on how to not get in trouble on some random shit, right there.
Consult ChatGPT. Yeah, no, I mean, I was saying it where, like, yesterday when we were talking about it, we're like, yo, ChatGPT, because I was just talking about it on my Facebook today, right? Where I'm just like realizing, like, yo, this is the boon of, like, I know people that know that I'm right at wild sorts of things, and they don't ever consult me for any help with anything, because they don't want to hear my mouth when it comes to all the other things. So they'd rather have a more defective product than to have a better product, because they sought consultation with somebody who clearly has better taste than them, right? But they'd rather just do it themselves than get the help, because they know that with my help comes my mouth. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like, yo, all good, yo. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine with that, and I'm fine with that journey. But other people are very delicate, and like, you got to be careful of your packaging, or you're gonna like scare people off and shit. You know what I'm saying? And so,
yeah.
I forgot what it was that I was going to call it.
ChatGPT is going to make people that wouldn't ask you questions get the answers they need, because they're going to
Right.
listen to the computer.
They're going to listen to the computer. Where they wouldn't, like, where you wouldn't listen to me, right? Not you, like a person like that, right? That could consult with me and wouldn't listen, because people don't like listening to other people either. People like rather just make the mistake themselves. Like, I'll go through it myself. And it's like where this generation, where previous generations wanted to consult their elders more, this generation is like, my elders have nothing to offer me at all. And in that, they're very lost. So if they were to consult with ChatGPT and get the wisdom of old people through a fucking Android,
they're gonna do it in a way where
artificial
they ask it
intelligence.
all the dumb questions they're afraid to ask, because that's really what it is. It's you can ask
Absolutely.
it to elaborate on things, and nobody's gonna call you stupid. I think that's what it is. As much as in young people's defense, a lot of old people are assholes about it.
A lot of old people are assholes about it. Absolutely. In old people's defense, a lot of young people like don't want to accept the fact that like we all have like I was young, so all of the same feelings that you had, I had, and I actually still have for a bunch of things. You know, one day you will be old too.
That's a
You'll
fact.
spend more time on Earth being old than you will be being young, because youth is over by like what 20 something, right? Like
All I
I've
know is
never
by
heard.
35, I'm not young no more.
Okay, see, you're giving yourself more of a runway, but hey,
I mean, I
everybody
would say
gets a
like
runway.
these days, 25 to 30 is like the end of youth.
Word. I looked at 25 as the end of youth.
It's weird. It's one of those goalposts that moves as the average lifespan. So like even 30, 40 years ago, people wasn't living anywhere near as long as they're living now. So now people just be
I mean, but
living
that's what you call
longer.
it thing. Like, there's a lot of people living longer than back in the days, but we actually are. Like, I was watching something the other day about like middle age and how people consider middle age 50 years old, but it's like most people don't live to 100 years old. So why would 50 be middle age? Middle age
Well,
is
it's
really
'cause, like,
40.
it's more about like you live to about 75, right? So if you think about it in like gaps of 25 years, 50s. Actually, you're right. That's like later in the game. Like technically, I'm middle aged now based on the average.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. If you're gonna die, if I'm gonna die at 80,
Well, to
let's
be fair,
put
I
80
thought
as
I
a
always
cap.
would have put
Let's
40
put
into the beginning of Middle Ages.
even if we say 90 is my cap, like, okay, you're gonna die at 90. It's like, all right, so then I guess I'm middle aged at 45. Definitely not 50. You know what I mean? Like, and even that's like, yo, like you're putting this 100, like that's a prestigious number that most people still don't reach nowadays. You know what I mean? So like really the median, the average, the like middle age of like most people's lives is their like late 30s, early 40s.
So yeah, ChatGPT says middle aged is 40 to 65 years old. It's a little late, but
All
I
right,
don't know.
moving on
To the trailers.
to the trailers of the week. To the trailers. Yo, it's an A24 week. I criticize A24 a lot, but I also don't mind correcting myself. When you got some fire, you got fire. They do be having fire. It's just I feel like they're such a pretentious art house. It's so annoying.
Right.
But these trailers are fantastic.
This is the story of Alejandro. His mother gave him everything, but she had a recurring dream of Alejandro leaving the safe world she created, where he'd face the dangers she tried so hard to keep him from.
Lo siento, señora Fuentes, pero Inmigración decidió no considerar la aplicación. Alejandro Martinez.
Yes, hi, let's speak.
Mr. Khalil's ready for you.
Thank you.
Okay, look, you don't have a while. You have a month to find someone to co-sign your visa. And if you don't, you have to leave the U.S.
I started freelancing for this lady.
I'm late. I know I'm late. I'm so late. Oh, this menu. What is it with walnuts? Walnuts, walnuts, walnuts. It's like a cafe for squirrels.
Walnuts, they go very nicely with the salad.
Do I look like I need educating on fine cuisine?
You think this lady can sponsor you?
I mean, we'll see.
We'll see. Well.
Is this your dream, making toys?
Yeah.
Help me curate an exhibition, and I'll sponsor you.
Other thing is, you can't take money right now.
He must find a sponsor and pay fees to earn money. The maze is impossible to navigate.
Wait, I mean, this sucks so much for you.
I'm barely keeping afloat.
Your boss is a monster.
I need to get paid.
She's the Hydra.
Such a nightmare.
None of those options. Human being.
Let me talk.
I question if you are ready for this job.
Why are you making everything so difficult?
You don't know what it is to really want something, to be on a mission, journeying into the unknown.
It sounds brave.
It's so simple, Alejandro. This is it. The sky's the limit. Oh, El Salvador. Pupusas.
Yes.
And those nuns they killed in the 80s.
Right. So...
Clearly, I'm gonna love this movie because New York City.
Fair enough.
That's another thing that we're like the greatest at. We have all the greatest movies in the history of movie making.
Imagine lowering
Like,
yourself
Our
into the earth, the people around you supporting you.
24.
You two have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Trey, is that you? I'm here for every visit. He doesn't want to go.
Your children need stability, and at the moment, we haven't seen enough.
What more do you need to see?
You gotta start speaking up in class.
Have you ever helped anybody with an open adoption?
They try to take our culture, try to take our freedom. And you know they'll try to take our babies too. That's exactly why we can't stop fighting for our kids, G.
It's not that I don't want this baby. I don't want my kids going through what I've been through.
You don't have to do this if it doesn't feel right.
I'm committed to my kids. No matter what, always be their mama.
Yeah, both are amazing trailers. They both look like they're gonna be interesting movies. I'm pretty sure that they'll both be. If they're anywhere near as good as the trailers, they're gonna be, amazing movies because the trailers are really like gripping and riveting. So, shouts to A24 for knocking it out the park with, or seemingly, to be seen, knocking it out the park with these two movies. I shit on them a lot because I feel like they're a pretentious art house studio, but the truth is that they're needed in the game the same way that like Marvel movies were needed in the game, to offer because I hear people say all the time I'm so tired of the superhero genre. And it's just like, I was tired of fucking horror as a genre years ago. I was tired of old westerns as a drama years ago, you know what I mean? Or old westerns as a like genre years ago. Like I didn't ever understand these are genres that never go away. They will forever be here. Same as coming of age movies never go away. Same as your generic action flicks never go away. Same as your sci-fi flicks never go away. Romantic movies never go away. the same way that all those movies can exist and be genres of their own, superhero movies didn't exist as a genre, and I'm super happy that it now exists as a genre. Like it definitely did not exist before. Like those Superman movies count towards it, but it doesn't count as it being a genre. You know what I mean?
Right. It wasn't really until the 2000s when it really started.
And so I'm really happy that we have it as a genre.
And even like before that, it would have just been grouped into action.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I'm happy that we have it as a genre, and I need it. And the same way that I need that, I also need, I guess, one. I need my IFC channel, independent film channel, and I need my occasional A24 movie. Because if I sit there and I watch all their movies, then that's when I get super aggravated with them. Because I'm going to sit through a couple of duds, and they're going to be even more annoying because it's like, this is a dud, and like, you're being pretentious at the same time. You can't do both those things. You can't be a dud and pretentious. That doesn't work out for me. That's the type of shit that like angers me and makes me a violent human being. You know what I mean?
That's
so shit like that. Like the audacity of you to be fucking to be bottom tier and to have the audacity to still be arrogant and have an ego is just like, how dare you? You gotta fucking check yourself. But yeah, man, these two look great. I'm gonna check them out. Moving on with the show. Let's play our songs. You heard my song, but the people haven't. I need to let them hear this fucking fire.
Fair.
What is the name of the song again? I forget. You gotta play it.
So
you gotta play it.
Boom. We're finding out now. Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Niggas trying to be like me. Sé que a mi flow tú le quieres llegar. Mi flow de la 42, bebito de gringuito. These niggas wanna get my flow. ¿Dónde están los que jalan, güey? Yo vivo mi mundo así. ¿Dónde están los que jalan, güey? Niggas trying to be like me. Prendo el carro y ando en la ciudad. Así me vivo la vida, la fama a mí me fascina y yo. Mujeres, wiki, piscina, así me vivo la vida, la fama a mí me fascina. Sé que a mi flow tú le quieres llegar. Mi flow de la 42, me visto de gringuito. These niggas wanna get my flow. Que dónde están los que jalan, güey. Yo vivo mi pregunto así. ¿Dónde están los que jalan, güey? This nigga's trying to get like me. Que, ¿dónde están los que jalan, güey? Yo vivo mi mundo así. ¿Dónde están los que jalan, güey? Niggas trying to be like me. Le llaman la escuela.
Fire.
Yeah. Yo, that dude with the shh was going harder than everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's a percussion that's gonna carries the track almost. You don't realize it, but it does.
No, I heard it and I was like, it's wild. And then, yeah, he just had a whole vibe. All right, here's my shit.
I heard that at my barber. I was like, I gotta share this with the people.
Yeah. That dude is Bad News Brown. He's one of the biggest dudes in Montreal until he was unfortunately killed in 2011 or something. He was like making moves, like doing shit at a different level. Plus, I really heard
before.
I like the harmonica shit. Like, it's just
Yeah,
crazy how
love
like
the
one of
harmonica.
the biggest names that came out of our scene is a harmonica player. When you really like think about what attracts people and the melody and the way he like, I don't know. He did something special with that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Turned it into an instrument. He made it a voice.
Yeah.
He gave the harmonica a voice. Yo, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
We
What are you
gotta talk
doing
about this weekend.
this weekend?
So I definitely am probably tomorrow afternoon gonna do a stream where I go through all this footage and put it in the folder so I can actually start the editing shit. I also have other just catch-up chores because, like, you know, you go away for a week and then all your shit's there. Plus, I got a job starting next week, which is fire, but also about to change up when we do perspectives. So I guess we'll get on that in a second. But with that, getting ready for, I have to go buy new clothes because,
We should
like,
probably let people know that we're going to be changing.
yeah. But yeah, so like clothes shopping is going to be this thing this weekend because no jeans is what I found out. And I'm like, this is like a real deal professional environment. So I got to go buy a bunch of them though because like my wardrobe be lacking on that front. So we about to, but we got the job. So it's a little more money spent, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's probably it. Maybe go to a 1-2 event if there's something. I think there's something Saturday, but the priority is really being ready for work. And you?
Work. I have went to the Bronx Ball last weekend, and oh man, I didn't even talk about that, at the beginning of the episode. Talked about your shit, and I did not talk about my own shit. But yeah, I went to the Bronx Ball, right, and schmoozed with all my fellow Bronxanians, as I like to call us, that want to see the improvement of the borough and have some dollars, I guess, is the way that you could put it. And there I was doing some schmoozing with some people from BronxNet. Shouts to BronxNet. Seeing if maybe seeing if maybe I head over there and do like something with the Bronx Public Access. But the DJ that invited me to that event, the Bronx Ball, DJ Hectech, shouts to DJ Hectech. He's got an event today, later on, I guess like happy hours. So I'm gonna go to that, and then Nems has something going on in Brooklyn, in Coney Island, at his store, the FYL Fuck Your Life store, and he's gonna have Corey Guns from the Bronx. So I feel like I still had it like I've got wild Brooklyn family that have made me feel like shit for not going to see
Yeah, I
Nems.
literally witnessed that happen.
Right. And he's not the only person that's done that to me. That goes to show Brooklyn people, man. Do better, guys. Look at how you all fucking try to run the same guilt trip. Anyway, they all ran the same guilt trip, you know, and I feel guilty, but he opened the store in the winter and Coney Island is on the water. And it's just like, if I don't have to be on the water in the winter in New York City, I'm going to avoid it. It's not like I wasn't ever going to go to the store and go support my dollars, because that's what I do big time. I showed up to his pop-up shop in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, and I bought one of the most expensive thing I could buy. That's what I do. I'm that friend. You know what I mean? Like, me and DJ Hectech went to Con Sofrito, which is like the spot that Jimmy from Jimmy's Bronx Cafe, which is like a legendary spot where mad legendary things have happened in New York City in hip hop history. He had a new spot, and like as soon as I showed up in there, they didn't have like regular drinks, like, and they were ready to like get the fuck out of there. I was like, fuck that. I'm buying a bottle of Mo, B. What are we talking about? Like, I'm that friend. I'm going to buy, and I'm probably going to buy the most expensive shit you got on the menu. You know what I mean?
But it's not going to be at the storefront on the water in the winter. You're going to have to wait till it gets warm.
You're going to have to wait until it gets warm. I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait till it gets warm. You're going to have to wait till it gets warm, because I'm not going. I'm not going to do it. but I'm going to do it this weekend. So going to do that. Going to see my mother-in-law in Brooklyn because if I'm in Brooklyn, I gotta go stop and see my mother-in-law. Absolutely. Shouts to her. Love you, Dina. And then tomorrow, what was tomorrow? Man, that's Sunday, Friday with tonight with Heck Tech. Oh, I think there's a Soul in the Horn cracking tonight. So after the Heck Tech thing, go to Soul in the Horn. It sounds like it's gonna be a pretty busy weekend. I can't even remember everything that I got planned. So a lot of partying, a lot of having a good time, a lot of going to Coney Island finally, you know, when you should be going to Coney Island, which is when it's warm.
It does look really far on the map. I'm just like,
on the map?
When you like finally get an appreciation for how big Google, like, it's like when you look at Google Maps, you don't know how big shit is until you go to the city and you got a sense of it, and you're like, yo, that's like a 30-40 minute drive away from the other part of Brooklyn where it's easier, and that's still like an hour from you.
People don't even understand like the way that we say block. Like when we say block, we mean a literal square that has like 4 streets, like, right? But like to most people, a whole street or avenue or boulevard will be a block. And it's like, nah, that's multiple blocks to us. You know what I mean? Like it's just different. The math does a different math here in New York than it does everywhere else.
Fair. It just takes a long time to go from the Bronx to Brooklyn. That's what I've learned. It's just long. And there's just traffic, always.
And I'm not even talking about like public transportation, because I'm not grabbing public transportation, but that's how far Coney Island is that it's so far. How far is it? It's so far that it's far by car. You know what I mean? Like it's far. It's just far. Like there's no cutting it no other way. It's far. So, yo, shouts to them. Shouts to Gorilla Nems. Shouts to Fuck Your Life. Shouts to Coney Island. Shouts to all my Brooklyn people. I will see you this weekend.
Fair. Yeah, and Perspectives is not going to be, our Perspectives is not going to be streamed Fridays at noon no more because of that job thing I got. So we're going to have to come up with a new time that makes sense. Largely based on how my life looks like once I start the job thing, which is a pretty hefty distance from my place.
Monday.
It's almost as if I got like a job in Staten Island by comparison. You know, like it's like, damn, the money's good enough to take it, but damn, is that distance going to be a thing?
Listen, we are, shouts to Lindell. He said, have a good day, fellows. Listen, if you are here, you probably follow one or two of us or both of us, right? Stay tuned on our pages. Stay tuned. We will announce when we have a new date. We will more than likely have an episode next week. It's just we got to figure out what day it's gonna be.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna keep
it'll be
coming.
somewhere between Thursday and Sunday, probably, folks.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll figure it out.
Facts.
We'll get back to you. We'll be on air. You'll be here. Thank you.
So, appreciate all y'all watching. It's been a pleasure to have you here with us. Make sure to leave a comment, the likes, the subscribes, hit the bell. We never say that, but the bell. We're going to have a lot more content coming to the socials, so make sure to follow that once we get on that. You should see it in the next couple of weeks roll out. And patreon.com/perspectives if you want to get those guided tours to Montreal or New York and get the crazy fun experiences, of which, if you follow our socials, you'll get a little taste of what you'll get to see in New York.
Follow our socials.
So, yeah, on that note, everyone, it's been great having you here. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend and all that. Live long and prosper, everyone. All right, you started the raid. Wait, did not get created? What the fuck? What's going on here? Where's my raid? That's so weird. What the fuck? Anyway, I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna end it.